amazing to see you all our special friends and family. Absolutely incredible. Thank you for so much for coming. Some from Brazil, wave your hands. Some from Canada, give us a wave. One lot from Horsley. And if I haven't mentioned you, just wave your hand too. Oh, sorry, right. But we are very sorry about the people who haven't been able to come due to the awful old bugs in December. But we will carry on and have, I hope, a great party. And of course, it's so special for us that you are here. I can't believe the man that I met when I was, let me think, 15, and I was with my very great ballet dancer friend Joe. Give away, Joe! And I met Adrian at a party in Bookham near Everhead. And I just want to explain what he looked like. He had a Elvis Presley quiff. And he had lovely brown eyes. And he had teeth that had been knocked out by a couple of rugby matches, so they were a bit of a slant. And we got those fixed. But he had a most fantastic personality. And immediately I met him, I thought, my goodness, you look great. I was quite young, and I haven't really had any young boyfriends. So 5 years later, we got married. And then now, 55 years later, we're still on the way, we produced some fantastic children, though I say it myself. Kate is a party organiser by profession, and it's Kate who has done this, and masses for us, and a big clap for Kate. And on to Sarah, who lots of you will know and remember, very, very good on the stage. And she's here from Brazil with her lovely husband Daniel, her two gorgeous daughters Sophie and Anna. Give a stand up, we're all waiting for you. Not finished yet, we're very international, this family. We now go to Canada, and this is amazing. We've got Vicky's lovely mother-in-law, Maureen, here from Canada. Steve too, yes, who's my sister. It is amazing, isn't it? We've been in Horsley in the same house for 55 years, and we now travel to Brazil, and we travel to Canada, and it's quite an experience. And then we've got Christopher, who has been, I think, pretty busy writing something and very into the film industry, and his lovely partner, Jasmine, who's on another Star Wars, I think. Can they get up and have a wave too? And that's probably the family except for the dogs. And then we are missing two of our important people, because Vicky's husband, Mikey, who's Maureen's son, and fantastic grandson, Seb, still in Canada, but he's a big soccer player, and there's all sorts of things going on for him there. So we'll give him a clap anyway, shall we? So little Horsley has really expanded itself on the family front. But really all of our wonderful friends, and you really are wonderful friends, you've been with us for so many years, so many of you, and we love you all lots, and we're thrilled to bits that you're all here, and sad that the people with the flu and the cold are not. But I just hope you enjoy Mercers Hall and the whole thing. It's Adrian's love of his life. It's probably even more than me, really. But he's been master here. We've had the most amazing time, and like 5 years of wow, it really was wow. But the bestest thing in our life is our friendships, and you are all extremely special. And I'm thrilled to bits to be hugging every one of you all. And thank you for coming, and Merry Christmas.
Just before we start this amazing banquet, we're going to just say grace. So if you could just bow our heads. So Father God, I just want to give you thanks and praise. Thank you, Father, for this incredible opportunity to gather together, family and friends, to celebrate Dad's 80th birthday. We are so grateful. And we thank you, Father, for the food that's going to come, and we ask that you would bless it to our bodies, bless our conversations, bless our time here and our going back home. We welcome you, Lord, to be with us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
That'd be nice for them. Chicago, they call some Jamie. They flew 2 days ago.
I've got a little speech on behalf of the grandchildren for you, dearest Grandpa. Now, Grandpa, where do I begin? There are so many memories, I just struggle to decide how to fit it all in. Do I start with your advice? Or perhaps one of your classic jokes? We love your infectious energy. You really are such a top bloke. As grandpas go, you can occasionally be effortlessly cool. For example, turning up in your Triumph Stag to pick us up from school. Unfortunately, your motorised modes of transport aren't always viable. Poor Jolly Breeze has seen better days. Her engine is not reliable. However, we have never let that spoil all our wonderful times in PG, a place filled with many happy memories in our beloved number 43. Picnics on the boat, to posh lunches at Club 55, and flying pig flipbooks to make our imaginations come alive. Considering you've owned a house in France for a very long time, your knowledge of Côte de Provence rosé is great, but your French is far from sublime. That doesn't stop you though, your confidence radiates from afar. But I always remembered your famous saying, no one is as confident as you think that they are. Confidence is key, however, and you have taught us that from day dot. Your ability to tell the same 5 jokes for 80 years. I'm sure you all know the ones I'm talking about. I don't need to explain. You haven't watched Grandpa blow out his candles yet. Oh no, we're going to be here all day. Grandpa has always been our biggest supporter, whether that be on the sports pitches, on the stage, or giving dating advice to his eldest granddaughters. If you can't find Mr. Right, look for Mr. He'll do. You can then just train them up and make them the perfect man for you. You love to tell us all about how you were a bit of a stud back in the day. People thought Valentine's Day was your birthday, as so many cards came your way. Now, jokes aside, the love that you and Granny have is beautiful to see. If I'm as lucky to love as like you two do, I will be as happy as can be.
We really are also grateful to have you both to look up to. Thank you for everything you do for all of us. We wouldn't be who we are without you. Your advice does mostly always seem to be right. Perhaps when we're your ripe old age, we'll be as bright. Thank you.
I must apologise now. To sum up 80 years of anyone's life is a challenge, but in writing this it proved summing up Dad's life in 80 years of Dad's life in just a few words, which is more than a challenge. So bear with me, I might go on a bit. If you like, we'll get through it together. Tell a few stories and look back at Dad's life. So, Dad's life started with a bang. On October 3rd, 1943, Dad's birth was marked by a 21-gun salute. As his father Jack, who was stationed in Scotland at the time, away from his mother Anne, was a gunnery instructor at for the Royal Artillery during the war. He ordered a 21-gun salute on the news of his firstborn. The tragedy being, the noise was so great, it startled a fellow soldier who dropped down dead of a heart attack. And so Dad's life had begun. In fact, we recently found in an old box of letters a note penned by Dad's father as he travelled by train to Scotland, having just visited Dad for the very first time, in which he wrote, "Dear Anne, it was simply grand seeing you again, darling, and Adrian for the first time. Words are really hopelessly inadequate to express what I feel. I love you so very much. To say I'm delighted is a wild understatement. It's the thrill of my life." And that was wartime Britain. It's hard to imagine for some of the younger family members here quite how different the world was that Dad was born into. Just the other day, in fact, it left me stunned as we were driving through Heathrow Airport. And we were driving through Terminal 2, and Dad just casually said to me, "You know, the first time I ever came here, it was just a couple of marquees and a runway." And I thought, wow, the world has changed. Zoe has got some pictures. So this is Dad and David on the front fence gate of their house. Dad was born to loving parents, Jack and Anne, and they lived in Leatherhead, with his siblings David and James soon to join them. Now, it won't surprise you to learn that Dad was something of a character as a child. In fact, he was expelled from his primary school. Now, what for, Father? It was for tying a girl by her plaits to the banisters upstairs. He had one pet, a tortoise, that they drilled a hole through the shell off and tied to the tree. He won one award as a little boy for managing to learn how to tie his shoelaces. And he would cause his mother considerable embarrassment at home as well. He used to sit on the fence, just there, outside their house, on the gate, and tell anyone passing that his dad was hitting his mother inside. On trains, in busy carriages, he used to play up wickedly, so as to cause a commotion and his mother's blushes. Looking back now, Dad, I'm afraid to say it's not much of a surprise that he was sent off to boarding school at the age of 6. So, getting older, with David and Jane now completing the family, it was clear that Dad was more of the dreamer, more content sitting in a deck chair reading his comics than playing cricket in the garden with his father and younger brother. A lovely story from the time that says much of Dad's character came from one guy, Hawks Night, when a young Adrian saved up all the money he could for the biggest rocket in the Leatherhead fireworks shop. whilst his father put on a sweet display of little sparklers and Catherine wheels, Dad waited with ever-growing excitement for the event's climax, his monster rocket. And so finally the moment came, and they lit the fuse and the rocket soared up into the sky to the astonishment of all. And as they watched it go, it went up and up and up, and it went through the clouds. It went above the clouds and completely out of sight. Eventually, all they saw was a slight fizz in the sky, and a slight muted bang could be heard from miles away. Now, the crestfallen Adrian could have learned a lesson that day. He could have learned that there's joy to be taken from the little things in life. But he didn't, and he's continued today to always go for the most expensive rocket and the biggest rocket. This party is actually an example of that. When it started to be planned, it was a small family affair to be had at home. And then Dad got involved. So at 13, it was time to leave Dames Hill, and he headed to Dorset and to Sherborne. But that was a pretty inconsequential time in his life. I won't talk about it much. Because I'm not going on about it. No, in all seriousness, I would say that here, the Mercers is Dad's home from home, but whether West Horsley or Sherborne are Dad's true spiritual other home, I'm not so sure. 10 years ago, Jasmine and I were in France together with Mum and Dad, celebrating Dad's 70th birthday, along with Paul and Denny Roffey. We were out on the boat in a beautiful bay on a quite stunning day. Mum had produced a cake and some cups of tea, and as we sat there basking in the October sun, Paul casually asked Dad if there had ever been any famous Sherbornians. Well, you can imagine Dad's face. Never had he been invited to talk about Sherborne on a family occasion. And as he cleared his throat and began to talk, I jumped overboard and swam. Needless to say though, Dad enjoyed his time at Sherborne. He left as a man with questionable yet just enough grades, including his 1 A-level and a record 14 O-levels, which Dad tells me they used to give him as compensation for every failed A-level. But still, even today, he reads books on the history of the A303, which is, of course, the road back to his motherland. I'm sure it's a great read. So, while still at Sherborne, Dad met Mum. Dad had been dating Mum's close friend Becky at the time. However, Becky had got bored of reading Dad's letters, which always detailed the latest rugby match. And so she would pass the letters on to Mum, who wanted to practice talking to boys. Eventually, that Christmas, Becky came clean at a party, and on introducing them both, told Dad that it had in fact been Mum that he'd been talking to all this time. They hit it off instantly, although on the first meeting, Dad kept disappearing mid-dance, leaving Mum alone on the dance floor, wondering where on earth he'd gone. This was the great winter of '63, I think. And like Private Pike in his beloved Dad's Army, he'd taken his mother's advice and had worn such a series of vests that they were now, when keeping up with Mum's considerable moves, proving a little too hot. So whilst Mum was standing idle on the dance floor, wondering what he was up to and where he kept going, Dad was in the loose, peeling off yet another layer. Photos from this time give the impression that Dad possibly thought of himself as something of a cad. His slick back hair, occasional cigarette holder in hand, and always driving a sports car. However, appearances can be deceiving, and whilst Mum might have been attracted to the James Bond facade, she soon has come to realise that she had to fall in love with the more Inspector Clouseau reality. For example, still in their dating years, Dad would take Mum off to the coast in his latest sports car. And one day, they found a quiet little spot. Dad, as ever, would hang the champagne bucket on the driver's door, very smooth. And they had taken the scenery of the coast from the back seat. A classic scene lifted straight from a Bond film. However, so distracted did they become that they didn't notice the incoming tide. And soon the car was almost afloat, surrounded by the sea. The champagne in the bucket had long since been stolen by a dog walker, and the date ended with Mum and Dad having to watch the farmer they'd hailed down pulling the car out of the sea. But you see, this is Dad. This is the true Dad. For all his efforts and notable achievements, which I'll come on to in a moment, and despite his claims of passion for fine arts, the ballet, the opera, his true love is in fact comedy. His huge laugh, his huge smile. He loves the Pink Panther, 40 Towers, Dad's Army, Mr. Bean, Jacques Tati, Henry Root, and Gerard Hoffman. And honestly, if you were to draw a Venn diagram of all those characters, Dad is somewhere in the middle. So, another fun story from this time was when they were doing a road trip across Europe. And it's a favourite thing of Mum and Dad's. They still do it with glee today. And they always like to find somewhere to pull off the road and have a little bit of lunch, find a nice little town. So on one of these first occasions, they were driving through Germany. And they were driving along about 12:45 in the afternoon. And suddenly a sign comes up for Ausfahrt. And Dad says to Mum, who's beside him reading the maps, "Come on, let's look at Ausfahrt. Let's find that. That sounds like a nice place." But alas, Mum, who was looking at the map, couldn't find Ausfahrt. So you think, okay, never mind, we'll carry on. It must be a tiny village. They carry on another 15 minutes down the road, and another sign comes up for Ausfahrt. Dad says, "Come on, this must be a town. You must be able to find Ausfahrt. Come on." Mum, now slightly panicking, started looking at the map, running her finger up the autobahn, not being able to find it. They pass on. Come on, ouch. Another 15-minute passes. Another sign for Ausfahrt. And Dad says, "Come on, ouch," exasperated. "This place must be the size of Birmingham." But still, Mum couldn't find it. Go on another 15 minutes, an hour now, and the fourth sign for Ausfahrt comes. And eventually, Mum's now crying inside. The map is thrown out the window. There's no hope of finding this place. And they find a petrol station. So Dad goes into the petrol station, goes into the man, and they have a conversation with Mum in the car, waiting, watching from outside. And eventually Dad comes back out, the tail between his legs, gets back into the car, and tells Mum that in fact the metropolis they were trying to find, Ausfahrt, means exit in German. Never mind, they managed to get married. In 1967, they got married. It was a beautiful day, albeit on the same day as a major golf championship, and their fathers set up TV screens all around the marquee to watch the golf. But it was a great day, and they then went to honeymoon in Tunisia, where they got so sunburned they couldn't touch each other. They returned and moved to East Horsley, and then on the arrival of Kate, they moved up Sheer Road into Mansell Cottage in 1971, a house they managed to buy for a whopping £15,000, and where they obviously continue to live today. Now, looking back, moving to Horsley was a masterstroke. It provided Mum and Dad with over 50 years of community and friendship, and it was a magical home to raise Kate, Sarah, Vicky, and myself in. When they first arrived in the village, one of their first dinner parties was with a young couple who had just met, Liz and Peter Pleasance. Keen to make a good impression, they were very punctual, and they took their seats around Liz's very modern dining table. Liz, who's not here today, but happy in Australia for Christmas with her family, as usual had it all set up immaculately. Small talk began, and I'm sure, as was usual, dear Peter was poking Dad. It was Peter who dubbed Dad Mr. Toad, or Toad of Toad Hall, for Dad's love of motorboats and sports cars. Anyway, somewhat awkward small talk had begun, the room looked impeccable, and just as they were about to begin the main course, Dad spotted on this rather modern table from 1971 a button just below where he was sitting, on the underside. And just as Liz walked in with the main dish, intrigue got the better of Dad as he reached out and pressed the button. And with that, shoo, the table automatically folded up like the jaws of a crocodile. Everything was sent flying in the air. The peas, the potato, the carrots, the broccoli, the sauces, catching it. Where once there was a table between them all, there now sat 4 people in dining chairs looking rather startled with nothing. Fortunately, we managed to scrape the bread sauce off the ceiling and enjoy the friendship ever since. And I'm sure it was quite the icebreaker. And most importantly, have no doubt had similar incidents along the way. These past 50 years, it's been a lot of fun. Now, as mentioned, Mansard Cottage has been the family's home all those years. Originally 2 old cottages, built for the families who worked on the nearby farm, Dad worked to build an extra bit on for every child that arrived. It's been his haven on the hill, a very happy home for us all. In the hot summer of 1976, Dad even put in a swimming pool, digging it out by himself along with his then new brother-in-law, Les, who in truth worked a little harder than Dad, hence why on the circular pool there was in fact a deep end. And Dad's DIY has always been a little haphazard in truth. We found over the years that he looks at problems and finds solutions in unique ways. One such example would be the relatively recent problem he had of solving the drip in the garden shed that was coming from the swimming pool pump. Not a great drip, just a consistent one, continually dripping on the floor. So Dad looked at the problem, thought of a solution, and with that, he went to his toolbox, found a saw, and cut a hole in the floor of the shed so that the drip could now continue unhindered. And instead of onto the floor, onto the ground beneath. At first, it seemed to work, but sadly, over time, it meant the solidity of the floor was ruined. The rest of the shed's stability was compromised, leading to the whole thing needing to be scrapped and replaced. And where do I start with his casual approach to the bonfire? One year, he completely burnt the shed and the fence down. He became so panicked by the black smoke billowing into the sky that Mum watched him from her bedroom as Dad ran round and round the kit in circles in the garden, screaming, "Fire, fire!" By the time the fire engine came that Mum had called, Dad had hailed down an entirely lycra-clad cycling race that was coming up the hill, and had them instead dart their bikes on the lawn and form a chain from the tap, passing buckets towards it down to his inferno. I must say, I'm joking about this, but he has made mistakes, but he's still much better than me, so I shouldn't Now, the holidays. If we've had fun at home, then we've really had fun abroad too. First, on endless camping trips around Europe in VW camper vans with families like the Eglinton's and the Franklin Adams. Dad's always said of camping, if you treat it as an endurance sport and not a holiday, you'll have a good time. Good time. And then skiing. Rarely do we ever see Dad happier than when on a bubble lift. Or when having a glass of wine or something at a restaurant on top of the mountain with friends like Barry Lloyd, plotting their next descent. And none less than the day you might see here when they both arrived for a fancy dress race in Europe in Switzerland, where they had to descend the mountain dressed in a questionable lingerie getup, while being tied together by 6 feet of rope. It went well until they decided to pass either side of a tree. And then, for the last 37 years, it's been Port Grimaud in France. So, that's been his escape from London life and a place where Mum and Dad have found so much joy sharing with friends and family over the years. Now, as Peter P would say, Dad is something of a Mr. Toad on the water in his motorboat, but it'd be amiss of me not to mention his cherished little inflatable, Tinkerbell. This is Tinkerbell. It's been with the family for, I don't know, how many years? 50, 60. When we first called Port Grimaud home, no holiday would be complete without Dad at least once attempting to sail this small dinghy to Saint-Tropez. Each year, a day would always come when the urge got the better of him, and he'd ask one of us children to join him on the adventure. We were always best and enthusiastic. The achievement of getting to Saint-Tropez in Tinkerbell was comparable to the moon landing. Each year, we'd sit on the beach watching as Dad's tiny sail bobbed up and down, traversing the busy bay as boats the size of houses bombed past it from either side. Each nearly resulting in disaster. Invariably, one side of the inflatable would deflate entirely, or the mast would fall down and need the passenger to stand, holding it up. My job each year, as the youngest, was to stand on the rocks of the beach and report back to Mum his progress, who, needless to say, was rarely impressed by his tales of survival as the crew's triumphant return. Now, Dad behind the wheel of a motorboat, I think there's another picture. Yeah. Dad behind the wheel of a motorboat can be a scary thought for some. We did do our boat licence together, along with Mole, many years ago in Lillington. I can't say we got many of the questions right, but I do remember buying the guy a nice lunch at a pub in the Isle of Wight, and we came away with our licences. A funny memory I have of Dad driving the boat was from just shortly after we bought Johnny Breeze, this boat here. And all 6 of us were down in France, and I think Zoe was there as a baby as well. And it was Easter, and we'd gone across the Saint-Tropez for some lunch on what was a fairly indifferent day. After lunch, the girls went for a walk around town, and Dad and I went back to the boat. And we thought we'd try out the new Perspex panels that go all around the boat and make the decking area like a tent. And so we sat in there, and when the girls came back and returned to the boat, they found us sat inside this little tent, having a cup of tea with the kettle on. After tea, a decision was made that we should get going before the weather set in anymore. So we set off. And by the time we set off, the fog had descended. And it was really thick. Couldn't see anything. Slowly creeping out of the harbour, we could barely see in front of the boat. Mum and the girls were rather alarmed. I remember half the family locked themselves in the cabin and they would sing musicals very loudly. It was sort of their go-to escape plan at the time. So we were creeping across the bay, going no faster than walking pace. I don't think Dad could go faster than 5 knots. And he'd get quite stressed on the boat. You could get quite stressed. And he'd shout at me, quiet, quiet. Yeah, really, his face etched with concentration. This time I was his private pike to his Captain Mannering, as I was told to look out. So I was looking out, trying to see anything, couldn't see a thing. And then suddenly, shoo, from behind us, a boat came flying past at phenomenal speed. And we started rocking from the left. And then a few minutes later, from the right, another boat came flying past us, the speed of knots. And again, we started rocking from the right. What's going on? Shouted Dad, clinging on for life. How can we be so irresponsible in these conditions? It was then that I thought I'd just unzip the Perspex package. And I couldn't believe it. When I put my head out, I realised the clouds had lifted and a beautiful day had landed. And it was only then that we realised we'd been staring through a box of condensation. What we must have looked like as a family, staggering back blindfolded across the bay. He's always been with Jolly Breeze, with the boats, with the house, just so happy to share it with everyone. He just wants everyone to enjoy and for them to give pleasure to friends and family. No one else, we know people, none of them here, so I can speak freely. No one lends their house out and lends their boat out to people, and I can't think of anyone who ever does. And we've got a visitors book in France, and it's just packed of great stories from wonderful holidays that Dad's given people. So it's been a wonderful place. Now, Dad's spirit and his joie de vivre is something to envy, and he's an eternal optimist. And who can forget his own personal Jacques Tati-esque skit from Dunkirk, when an Icelandic volcano grounded all flights across Europe, rendering him trapped in Switzerland. His adventures back through mainland Europe via a series of trains, and then purchasing a women's shopping bike and attaching his wheelie luggage as he had to then cycle through Dunkirk's cobbled streets and get on the last ferry home. It was an amazing story, and it ended up in the local press when he got home. Such as the story, gave him a whole page in Surrey advertising. And yeah, it sums him up more than most. It's an amazing story. So, moving on to London, and here, the Mercers and all his work. All the while, Dad, away from the family, here in London, he's been building a remarkable career that anyone would be proud of. Having entered his father's fledgling law firm, Masons, when the office only had 6 employees working there, he left it in 2013 with the company having offices all around the world and thousands of employees. And concurrently, here at the Mercers, where he was the master in 1991, it's opened the door to so much charity work too. It's curious, really. Growing up, I was never truly aware of what Dad actually did do for work. As the only aspect of his life that he would ever really talk about or share with us was all his voluntary charity work. His love of education began when he and his dear friend, Patrick Franklin Adams, together convinced the local bank that they should buy the struggling East Horsley School, Glenette. That was on the brink of closure at the time. Buy it they did, and they oversaw its ensuing success. From there, he's been on the board of governors for 12 different schools, 6 of which were startups. He's chained countless other charities. He was the chairman of the Alzheimer's Research UK, the Classical Roadshow, which worked to introduce children from all backgrounds to classical music and performance. He also played a major part in helping save Bart's Hospital from closure, and also founded the Centre of the Cell, the world's first educational science centre within working biomedical research laboratories, for which Dad received his honorary doctorate. A man who managed to change just one nappy and faints at the sight of blood. As a family, he always organised and made sure we were a part of the Christmas Eve carol singing around the village, raising money for the local special needs school. And in 1996, he even chaired a foundation which opened the Unibacken Museum Educational and Play Area in Stockholm for young children, which only last week I attended for the very first time. I'd always been aware that Dad and Mum visited the royal opening of the venue in 1996, at which point Dad promptly fainted at the King's feet, I might add. But I had no idea of the scale or continuity continuing importance of the project in Stockholm before my visit. I was really quite emotional on finally seeing the incredible space on the Stockholm waterfront. I returned, and on telling Kate all about it, she quite rightly chuckled and said we just don't truly know half of all Dad's achievements and the impact on those he's known. And she's right. It often feels as though most of London would tell me that Dad had set them up, introduced them, or helped them set them on their way in their careers at one time or another. I've genuinely been stopped by people such as the doorman at Mason's, who with tears in his eyes told me how Dad had helped support his children through education. No doubt through sponsorships here at the Mercers, but which Dad would have organised. People I barely know often say to me that my dad's a legend. And it's true, he has an extraordinary big heart. And in the latter years of his career, he's even overseen and chaired both the Mercers and Portman Estates, working to sculpt huge chunks of West End of London and beyond. He's opened clubs and restaurants, he's even chaired the advisory board of a private bank. I grew up taking all this for granted. I thought it was normal, but only now, looking back, I realised his career was actually wholly exceptional. And so finally, to this landmark birthday, I've told Dad that rarely can there have been a better rehearsed 80-year-old. In truth, despite being a Peter Pan-like character, probably for most of you, roaring around Surrey in his beloved Triumph Stag, at heart, he's also been an 80-year-old in waiting for many years. When he was 40, it might have seemed eccentric. Now his preferred lifestyle on a Sunday of polishing the silver, correcting the grandfather clock, listening to his classical music while eagerly anticipating Antiques Roadshow, whilst wearing his +4s. Whilst that all might seem eccentric, it now seems to be rather appropriate. He's aged like fine wine. In 2003, many of you will have been at Dad's 60th birthday party in the club he opened in Portman Square, home house. And sadly, many of those who were there that day aren't here now. We've lost a lot of friends. Friends who Dad played a lot of golf with, skied with, laughed with, and holidayed with. They're all greatly missed this afternoon. But I'm happy to say that also at that time, with a bit of help from Mole, Mikey and Daniel, we've welcomed a whole new generation to the family. In Zoe, Lucy, Jessica, Jack, Sebastian, Sophie and Anna, who happily, whether at home or abroad, in Canada, Brazil or Essex, Dad also plays a lot of golf with, skis with, laughs with and holidays with. The circle of life goes on. Now, it must be said that truly none of what Dad's achieved would have been possible without his incredible wife, our mum, by his side. And so Dad, as you turn 80 now, and this is for both of you, facing some new and great challenges ahead, be sure that you're surrounded by immense love and pride in all that you've achieved, and for having been the wonderful parents, grandparents and friends you've been to us all. You've allowed us and enabled us all to live the lives we've chosen, and for the most part, you've blindly supported our decisions. Thank you. We love you very much. Everyone, I think your glasses are charged, and I'd like for everyone to raise a toast to our dad, Adrian. Thank you very much.
Well, I cannot thank you, Chris, and congratulate you on a brilliant, lovely speech. The word of fiction surpassed anything I could imagine. It wasn't all fiction, I suppose. It really did happen, didn't it? I have to speak to myself to realise that it did happen. And how it happened, I've absolutely no idea. I've been very lucky in the opportunities that have come my way, and I've been able to take advantage of them and enjoy them, every single one. That's why I'd say that all the young is take every opportunity that comes your way and enjoy them, really joy. It's a lovely three-letter word that absolutely sums up all my experience. Of course, I couldn't have done any of this without Anne. I get quite choked up.
It's all right.
Yeah.
My word, what she's had to put up with it. But we've done it together, as a team. I couldn't possibly have done anything which dear Chris spoke without Angela's support. And it's been absolutely unquestioning. I've lived after I had a tiny little flat in London. It was, every man needs a shed. Well, my shed was 131 Clifford's Inn, wasn't it, everybody? It was a beautiful little flat which my cousin Susan made available to me. She realised that I needed somewhere in London to put my head, and there it was in Clifford's Inn. And somehow she gave me the freedom to enjoy it, and I did enjoy it very much for a couple of days. Then I had to get back for another recharge in Mansard Cottage, which has been our dream home ever since we bought it all those years ago. Over 50 years, I think, isn't it? Over 50 years ago, we bought it. And as Chris says, every time someone came along and had a new child, we had to build them another bedroom. So now we have far too many bedrooms. And we talk about possibly downsizing. You heard of that word? Downsizing. But it's actually impossible, because we need a house or home, provide a home for all these children when they come back from Brazil and Canada and all over the world. We need somewhere for them to put their heads. And we're finding the thought of downsizing rather tricky, to be truthful. I also, the other demand, if we can get it, is to find a house with absolute privacy, which we have, in the middle of the village, with no neighbours, hard by the shops. And the agent's having a bit of a problem with that. Anyway, you are the most wonderful group of friends. Someone sent me a card. Was it Jane? Someone sent me a card. The best things about getting old are all your old friends. That's the best thing about getting old, is you've got lots of old friends, if you're very lucky. And we have got lots of wonderful old friends. That means friends for a long time. Not that you are old, of course you're not. But friends who be our friends for years and decades and years. And we're very, very lucky. You've supported us as we hope we've tried to support you. And so we go through life until what happens? We fall off of this, as many of our friends have. But there are memories hard in my head, in my heart. I've loved them all, and I still do. So I think I've said enough. I can also do that. So I know there are other things to happen now, Kate. You've got a sheet of things. What's going to happen next?
Introduce Lucy and Jack.
What, darling?
Why don't you introduce Lucy and Jack?
Lucy!
And I know Grandpa loves this one. So.
Oh, good.
East of the sun and west of the moon, we'll build a dream house of love, dear. Close to the sun in the day and it's the moon at night. Living in a lovely way, sharing our love in the pale moonlight. It's just you and I. Forever and a day, love will not die. Let's keep that way. Up above, the stars will fly, a harmony of life with a lovely tune. East of the sun and west of the moon, dear. We're east of the sun and west of the moon. Oh, we're east of the sun and west of the moon. We'll build a dream house of love, dear. Close to the sun in the day and it's the moon at night. Living in a lovely way, dear. Sharing our love in the pale moonlight. It's just you and I. Forever and a day, love will not die. Let's keep it up that way. Up above, the stars will fly, a harmony of life with a lovely tune. East of the sun and west of the moon, dear. East of the sun and west of the moon. East of the sun and west of the moon. All the grandchildren.
On the greenways.
All the children. Okay, one to one.
Greenways.
They're coming in here.
It's kind of painless, you know.
Yeah.
But I didn't speak. We better go. Are you going up? Are you going up? Oh, thanks. Okay.
I took a picture.
Oh, God.
Oh,
You're going to blow them up?
And it says on the top, what is it? Happy birthday, Mr. White. Mr. Watley, at least in one line, from the first Mr. Watley to eat on this spot. Yes, 1715 was the first. Here I am, 2000. There we go. Thank you. I want to please, on your part, if you would take our thanks to your wonderful team. Somewhere back there. Oh, he's cooking. I offered to do the potatoes this morning. I came in here after breakfast and said, can I help you on potatoes or something? Oh, I'll shoot out of the kitchen very quickly. So anyway, thank you very, very much.
such a night. such a night to steal away. The time is right. Your eyes caught mine in the attic lands. You let me know that this was my chance. 'Cause you came here with my best friend Jim, and here I am trying to steal you away from him. Oh, but if I don't do it, you know somebody else will. If I don't do it, you know somebody else will. If I don't do it, you know somebody else will. If I don't do it, you know somebody else will. And it's such a night. It's such a night. Sweet confusion under the moonlight. It's such a night. Such a night to steal away. The time is right. Yeah, I couldn't believe my ears, and my heart just skipped a beat when you told me to take you walking down the street. Oh yeah, you came here with my best friend Jim. Here I am, stealing you away from him. Oh, but if I don't do it, you know somebody else will. If I don't do it, you know somebody else will. If I don't do it, you know somebody else will. If I don't do it, you know somebody else will. 'Cause it's such a night.
Via, vieni via di qui. Niente più ti lega a questi luoghi, neanche questi fiori azzurri. Via, via, neanche questo tempo grigio, pieno di musiche e di uomini che ti son piaciuti. It's wonderful, it's wonderful, it's wonderful. Good luck, my baby, it's wonderful. It's wonderful, it's wonderful, I dream of you. Chips, chips. Do 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 do. Chiboom. Do 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 do. Chiboom, chiboom, boom. Do 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 do. Via, via, vieni via con me. Entra in questo amore buio, non perderti per niente al mondo. Via, via. Non perderti per niente al mondo, lo spettacolo d'arte varia di uno innamorato di te. It's wonderful, that's wonderful, that's wonderful. Good luck, my baby, it's wonderful, that's wonderful, it's wonderful. I dream of you. Chips, chips. Do 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 do. Chip, chip, boom. Do 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 do. Chip, chip.